You're listening to the Mind Your Business podcast, episode number 41. Today, we're answering the infamous question, if I had to start all over again, what would I do first? This is a doozy, so stay tuned. Hi, I'm James Wedmore, and I've built a 7-figure internet business that offers the financial freedom to do what I want, when I want. And I'm the first to say that hard work and hustle are not essential ingredients for your success. So, how do you build a thriving business from the inside out? This is the Mind Your Business podcast, featuring myself and co-host Phoebe Mroczek. All right, Phoebe Mroczek in the house.
Holla.
How you doing?
How's it going,
I'm
James?
doing well. It is time for another listener question of the week, and we've got a great question coming from Lindsay Harvey. This is a big question that we get, and I'm excited to share my take on the question. So, what do you want to do? You want to jump right into it, or anything we need to say or do or get off our plates first?
I don't think so. I think we should just jump into it.
Fine. Whatever.
Awesome.
I wanted to tell you all about my thoughts and feelings.
Excellent. Well, I'm all ears.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead and ask the question.
Perfect. So Lindsay asks, you're a very successful entrepreneur, but if you lost everything tomorrow, pretty confident that's not going to happen, but go with me. How would you start over again? Where would you begin in building a successful 6-figure business? What would be your number one priority?
Thank you, Lindsay. And thank you, Phoebe, for asking the question. This is a fantastic question. I love this question. I think people ask this all the time. And what's so great is that everybody who has reached some level of success in their life likes to play this fantasy game of, what would I do if I had to start all over again? So we're going to set the stage of starting from scratch. And to set this stage, this alternate universe, parallel universe properly, we have to set it in a way that, I've built a personal brand, right? Where people know me and that I am the product. And so starting from scratch in this scenario must mean that no one knows who I am, in all fairness. Otherwise, it's just like, I just do a webinar, and ask some of my friends. So the relationships I've built up with customers, subscribers, and people in the industry and peers in the industry has to all, go away. Because a lot of people will tell you, oh, that's easy. I've built up so many great connections and relationships. I'd reach out to those people and they'd help me. That's like cheating. I want to create a real answer to this question where I'm literally starting from scratch, where the only thing I have is the resourcefulness of who I am and the knowledge and experience in my brain that I've acquired. Does that make sense if we set the stage for this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The first thing I want to say is this is very awesome because when you're starting from scratch, you're at this level. One thing that I think when people are starting out that they don't really take, or they do take it for granted, is time and opportunities. Like, you can go anywhere and do anything, and there's so much. So, one of the things I get challenged with is that the bigger I get, it's like the bigger I get as a boat. When you're small, you're like a little rowboat. You can change directions really fast. You can make a 90-degree angle in an instant. But now we're like a cruise ship. And making a turn is like a big deal, and there's a quote that says, like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, bring others with you. And, we have a team now. And I look at, as we're preparing for our next launch, I look at how we had to change like one thing today in our launch. And it was like, you've got to like jump on top of the mast of the ship and like yell it out to every like different department, like, oh, we've changed the link. Oh, we've changed the link. Tell your friends. And like all this thing had to happen just to change a link. And then I still see myself making decisions that, oops, I forgot to tell the project manager, and now they're totally confused. So when it comes to like, we have a new product idea, or, even just like using some of the new software and apps and cool tools that come out, like those are big decisions for us because we've created process maps. The entire team has a way of doing things. And all of a sudden it's like, thinking about just like changing to a different email provider, we'd probably just crash.
Yeah.
Like there'd be so much. So I want to start with saying that this is actually really great for our people in startup land. Like you just take that for granted that when you're lean and you're small, like there's so much time, there's so much opportunity, there's so much available, there's so much possibility. So getting me to think about this gets me really excited. Like, wow, what would I do all over again if it was just me in my parents' basement again? And I think number one, you have to start, you always, no matter what, just like we do still today, you have to start with some goals and intentions. Because I can be like a scrapper and a hustler and I can make some money really fast, but is it in the general direction of what I do want for myself 5 to 10 years down the road?
Right, which is difficult to consider when you're just starting out. I remember having a conversation with you, James, when I was first starting out and I was getting overwhelmed because there were a million different directions I could go in. Did I want to do this? Did I want to do that? And I remember you saying to me, like, you know what? You're in such a great situation right now. Yes. And you're like, oftentimes, I kind of wish I was in that situation, you know, sometimes. And I just remember having that reframe moment where I was like, I didn't actually think about it that way. I could do anything. I could do everything. And now I get to choose something. If I don't like it, I can switch because it was just me. And so I see even, you know, when we're in the RMI, Real Marketing Insider launch, our team is not very big. But when we change things, I had the exact same experience today and I forgot to let somebody know something. And I did not warn Princess about something. And it just turned into, a very small little issue, but still, it was not just me making a decision and I'll just go in and fix it. It's like, well, did you tell her? And then did she tell him? And did he fix it, the link and whatever? So it does get more complicated, but I do remember having that conversation with you.
And the reason we're sharing this is that as your team grows and your business grows, things like this in the short run can really slow you down. And you have this opportunity to move really fast, okay? But always, always start with a goal, an intention, or an outcome. Start to form the vision of the company, the business, the lifestyle that you want. So we're going to come back to a question that really makes me sound like a broken record, and that's a good sign. What do you want? You know, what type of business becomes a vessel that allows your strengths to shine through? What type of business becomes the access through which you can have a lifestyle that it affords for your lifestyle, whether it's a financial lifestyle and also time lifestyle? How long you want to work, what do you want to work on, and how much money is it going to make you? And that's really big. And then you don't have to create that now. I think a lot of people then just go, okay, they create this vision and they think they have to take this one step to get there. And it's this, you know, I'm just going to go climb Mount Everest today.
Totally.
And we're like, well, wait a second. You can take a baby step to get there. Because I look at my 8-year journey and it was just, we call it the leapfrog effect, but it was like one thing led to the next. And, you know, whenever we do gratitude exercises, whether it's on the team or myself or with Chelsea, we do them like every morning on the drive to work. She goes, name 3 things you're grateful for. And the most common thing for me is that I always look back on all these experiences I've had in my life that led me to this point. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that how I ended up going to film school and choosing Chapman University and going to that film department, which had an emphasis on film and advertising and commercial making, and how that I turned into this guy teaching YouTube and video marketing. Like how that all happened was just like the most random, you know, chance of fate in the world, right? And all these things happen, and I'm just like constantly grateful for that. Anyways, I like to get a little, you know, off topic here, but you know, what do you want to create? What's the goal? What's at least the direction, the essence of what you're after? So if I'm starting from scratch and I want to create the business that I've already created, it's like, well, I want to create a business around my content, teaching. I want to have online courses. I want to create passive income. I want this to be an online business. I want to be able to build a system using software and teams and really automate it and leverage a personal brand. Then I will tell you what I would do. But I'm also going to add a little bit to Lindsay's question. And at the end of this, after I answer what would I do if I were to start all over again, I'm also going to ask a great question that gets asked a lot, which is, what would I have done differently if I could go back and do it again? And that's a good one. We'll get to that in a second. So you identify what you want. Then we got to start in what we call phase 1. So in my training series for my signature program, Business by Design, we talk about the 7 phases of the evolution of your online programs, your products, and your offers. And the first phase is always the research phase. or what I call the listening phase. And this is simply put, this is all about understanding at the deepest level possible, know who your customer is and what their problem is and their objections. So if you want to make more money, solve bigger problems. But you got to know who the person is, because you can't solve the same problem for everybody. Everyone's unique, right? But who is this person, this ideal customer, this avatar, and what is their problem? What are they struggling with? And here's the secret. Like, most people don't know how to do research properly. You have to describe the problem in their terms. Do not be the doctor trying to prescribe the solution before you've diagnosed them. And you have to diagnose it in their terms.
Totally. And on Monday, we have our next episode is with Jason Friedman, and he talks all about actually using their language and getting so far into, their heads, into their mindset, into really understanding what they would be saying to a friend, a colleague, a family member, and using that language to really understand where they are in their life. And I think that's a huge advantage when you can actually nail that, especially in your copy, in your offer, all of that, and it all kind of builds on itself.
Isn't that funny that we just happen to be doing a whole episode on that? That's great. That's all about how to create a customer-centric business mindset. And I think it's beautiful. So phase one, no matter what, I'm going to go into a market. I'm going to find the people and I say, who are these people? What makes them tick? What do they complain about? What do they get frustrated? I mean, we could have episode after episode about how to really get into the research phase of this. But that's what I would do first. And I would solve their biggest problems. Now, the good news is that taking this experience of 8 years, I've gotten effective at selling in really like online selling, like how to communicate what they want, how to solve it with words. Here's what it is, presenting an offer and addressing things like objections. And so copywriting and selling are skills that I've developed. Are you developing those skills?
Well, can you kind of get into that a little bit more? So before you started your business, is that something that was a priority? Because you said that you went to Chapman and had kind of a focus on advertising. Is that something you learned there and just kind of picked up on, or did that kind of develop over time?
That's a great question, because I do, again, it's that leapfrog, everything evolves. So like growing up, I was really artistic and I could write. And I remember like short stories in our English class, like any creative writing. I just loved it. I loved it. In college, I remember taking a course on something called copywriting. And I almost didn't take it because I thought copywriting meant how to copyright something, like RIGHT.
Yeah.
And I was like, this sounds boring. Was this like some legal, class? No. And it ended up being one of my favorite classes of all my college experience. And all we did was our professor would give us products and we'd have to come up with headlines and write copy for it. And I just loved it. And I'm going to be a little braggadocious here. I was the best student in the class. I remember one of the assignments was to design a print layout for a magazine for TiVo. And people would come back, like with these lame things like, record your shows. And I remember I had this whole concept kind of like tying in Back to the Future, and that it was like going back in time to capture what you've missed. And you know what I mean? Like it was, I don't remember what the exact thing was, but this whole concept. And then I was like showcasing, someone watching Back to the Future on TV and how they could skip through the commercials so they could like fast forward through time and, all that type of stuff. Like bringing the power of the DeLorean into your TV remote or something like that. And like, people would like vote for the best ones and mine always kicked butt. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I didn't know how to sell, and I was really nervous. I had fears of rejection and stuff like that. So if I were to come back now, again, I would start with, who is this person that I'm focusing on? And you could go anywhere, you really could. Identify what their biggest problem is. And that's really just by listening and asking. And then selling at this point is literally saying, oh, you have a problem. Here's my solution. And then they're going to have objections. They're going to have objections that they tell you about, and then they're going to have objections that they're telling themselves about in their mind. So the objection goes a little bit like this. That sounds great, Phoebe, but what? I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I'm not ready for this. I'm not good enough. I don't think it's going to work. I don't trust you. I don't think you're going to work. All this type of stuff comes up. You just have to be able to address the objections. Now, I know what you're thinking, I don't have the time, to do this, or I don't have the money. Well, listen, what if I did this? And you address the objection. So now the next piece is understanding research and understanding that I can just provide a solution. You're probably going, okay, well, what are you going to sell them? And the thing is if I'm starting at scratch, I have nothing. I haven't created a course. I don't have software. I don't have a website. I don't have any of that stuff. And still up until this point, I haven't spent $1. But I could reach out to people, whether it's on Facebook in a Facebook group, door to door at a business, or reaching out to them via email, or make a video for them and reach out to the business owner. So if I had no product and no money or resources to create a product, I would start with using this thing that we started with, which is my biggest asset, asset that I have at the time, which is time, the time that I have. And so that would come into either coaching, consulting, or some sort of service. Just being able to go to somebody. I mean, and that is so funny. I tell people this all the time when they're like, I want to build a business like yours. How do I get started? I don't even know where to begin. I'm like, are you kidding me? Just go to a busy business owner and tell them you'll do something for them. Like, hey, we'll manage your social media. Hey, we'll design this for you. Hey, we'll manage that. We'll create this. We'll do this. We'll set up that. We'll automate. Just something. Well, James, I don't know how to do that. We'll go find a course that teaches how to do it and just do it. We'll run your Facebook ads for you.
Right. And then once you have a little bit of knowledge, going and approaching someone and saying, I'm going to do this for free. People are so willing to have that, done for them. So,
yes. Sorry to interrupt, but that's exactly what people are going to say who are listening to this episode. Why? How am I supposed to just go to somebody, even if I take a course and learn how to do it? How am I supposed to just go to somebody and say, hey, I've never done this before, but will you pay me to do it? Okay, well, Phoebe just told you the answer. Go to them and say, listen, I just took this training. And this is actually what we teach people in our local video academy training, because we show them how to set up a video agency, go to businesses and create videos for them. And it's amazing. Like, people come up with a lot of excuses, but when our students do, but the students who actually don't give into those excuses and do it anyways get extraordinary results. They're closing like $4,000 to $8,000 deals with local businesses. And 9 times out of 10, if this is the first one they've ever done, they go to them and say, listen, I'm going through this training that's showing me how to really take advantage of video marketing. You're my first client. Can I use you as a case study? Can I use you, as a project? And I won't charge you anything, and I'll make you a great video, and it'll probably get you some business. Can't promise it will, but it won't hurt. And then when that happens, you've got experience. You've got word of mouth. You've got testimonials. You've got proof. And if you're not willing to do that, then you shouldn't start a business. There's a great book I've been rereading, E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And he talks about how 90% of people who start a business, because so many businesses fail, they start it from the standpoint of being the technician, right? Like, I just want to do the thing, and whatever the job is, like, I want to make bouquets, so I become a florist. I want to make ice cream, so I start an ice cream shop. And he says, so much of running a business is you have to be in the entrepreneurial role. And a lot of people come back and they say, no, but I love flowers. I just want to do, create bouquets, beautiful bouquets all day. Then go work for somebody else at their flower shop, if that's all you want to do, because owning a business requires that, right? So you have to be willing to put in that work, even if it's free or half off or whatever, because it's building something bigger where you can eventually systematize, automate, bring on a team, outsource and stuff. But you got to be able to start there. So that's exactly what I did. And to get really specific, here is exactly what I would do if I started over from scratch, okay? With everything that I am and know, but no one knows me, and my entire reputation has been wiped clean from the universe, but I still have my skills. I would begin to reach out to online authorities and experts who are starting to use video and they're good on camera, and I would make them a video saying, I love your stuff. I'd like to make some videos with you. I'd like to make a group of your videos. I'd like to help you market them on YouTube, and I'd like to manage your YouTube channel. I'd probably offer the first one either free or really inexpensive to get something under my belt, and then I would start offering that as a service, and I would build that up into a 6-figure-a-year service. I would build out a team, and then from all the experience I've gotten from managing people's YouTube channels, now I have a business. I'm basically creating a YouTube factory of videos. I'd invest that money. I'd probably have a studio. I'd start having local businesses coming into the studio, and all the while I would be, and this is what an entrepreneur does, ladies and gentlemen, is I would begin to leverage the experience that I have been accruing for the last year making videos and marketing and managing other professionals and business owners' YouTube channels, is I would start to leverage that. I would say, okay, can I host workshops on the weekend? Can I do consulting? Can I turn this into an online course or boot camp? Can I hold an event? Is there software available? Can I sell anything else related to this? What about back-end offers to these people? I mean, business isn't hard. And that's it. We're off to the races. And I can do that in 12 months. I bet I'd hit $100,000 in the first 6 months. 6 to 8 months, I think. Depends on if I did the first couple for free. Like, it really depends if in this scenario I didn't know anything about YouTube and video. Okay, I have to go do all the research myself, learn about it, and trial and error. But if I did, I could go way faster. And with the confidence I have and the results I'd be able to get people, we'd be 100,000 in 6 months. So that's it. There's your answer. But so many people are working backwards. Here's what they do. They see what other people are doing. I mean, I have customers doing this. I don't want to shame them or anything, but you want to shake them by the shoulders with love and be like, this is not the way to do this. They see this punk kid from Laguna Beach who surfs half the day coming out there, and they say, oh, this guy's just making this course on how to make a YouTube video, and I just went through it. Well, I could do that. And then they try and do it, and they don't have anything else. They don't see anything else that went into it. They don't see the beneath the surface. You see, the Titanic iceberg, right? The Titanic hit that big iceberg. They didn't see how big it was under the water. There's a lot of hidden beneath the surface stuff that went into that. They say that thing, there's that phrase, I'm a overnight success, 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
No one sees the 10 years that went into that, and they just go for that. And then they wonder why it doesn't work. You have no list, you have no following, you have no testimonials, you've got no experience, you don't have the sales, the marketing training, the branding, the reputation, the JV partners and affiliates. Like, that just takes time. But you know what doesn't take time is just solving someone's problem right now at the end of today. We have so many examples of people that are like, wait, you can do this for us? Okay, great, here's money. I think we gave this on another podcast where we were in a Facebook group. Someone answered a programming question for me. And then I was like, what do you do? They're like, well, I program for a living. I said, are you for hire? Yes. And I connected them with our project manager. And 48 hours later, we had a finished project and sent them payment. We actually sent them a bonus, as it was like, this is amazing. They don't need a webinar. They don't need a Snapchat following. Okay. They don't need a 100,000 person email list. You can get started and build a business now, and that can evolve into something greater and bigger.
Right. I think we complicate it all. And we think, especially for me, when I first came on the scene, the first two people that I really started following online were you and Amy Porterfield. And I remember being like, wow, they just got here. But it was really because I had just gotten on the scene. So all these people.
What year was this?
This was 2.5 years ago.
So like 2013, 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. I've been doing this since 2008.
Right. And I just, yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, wow. All right, well, he's moving quick. And then I started comparing. I'm like, well, why, looking at Amy, I'm like, why is my business not moving as fast as hers? I didn't know that she had all these years, of experience behind her, which then made me feel really anxious because I was like, why am I not doing it? All these people are overnight successes, and why is that not me? And so I started, I got in my head about it. And now that I have seen so many people that, they're not planning for the long term. They're kind of like, oh, quick, I got to get to 6 figures because that's what everyone does. And they have webinars on how I made 6 figures. And that's the cycle that people get in, as opposed to being like, okay, thinking of it as any other business, any other brick and mortar or really any kind of company where you plan for 5 years, 10 years down the road. What does that actually look like? And when you can actually map that out, you're going to be so much more successful because you're going to know that you're not going anywhere. And I think your customers and your audience really start to realize that you're not going anywhere. And that's a great place to be in because people have so much more confidence in what you say. You're not just there for the quick buck.
Now, you can plan, 5 to 10 years out. But what I want to say is that it doesn't have to take you 5 to 10 years to get results. And so many people replace passion with fear. Right? The passion wanes out of starting a business really fast, and then the fear sets in. The fear of, if I don't keep moving, if I don't keep doing this, if I don't keep working, if I stop, it's all going to come crashing down. And I'm going to have to face the harsh truth that nothing's working. And I'm not getting the real results, no matter how hard I'm working, no matter how busy I am. This is why we talk about this hustle BS. I call it the hustle denial, because I think most people are in denial. They think they're productive because they stay so darn busy. And they're not focusing on the things that really matter. So what Phoebe's talking about reminds me of a cartoon that was shared in one of our Facebook groups. And it was shared by one of our customers, Jack Long. I'm going to see if I can describe it in words what this image shares. So it's basically a picture of a person digging a hole in the ground. And they look behind them and they see someone else who's digging a hole in the ground, except this other person has found a diamond in their hole. So this first person jumps into their hole and starts, I'm going to go into their hole and I'm going to start looking for diamonds because they found a diamond. I'll go look for diamonds. So he starts digging in there and he's dumping his dirt into his old original hole. And it cuts back and you see that there was a diamond in his original hole just inches below the surface. And now he's covering it back up with dirt with this new hole that he's digging even deeper. And he says, doesn't this feel like us sometimes? And, maybe we'll put this in the show notes or something. But what's happening here is he's going on his journey, on his path. He's doing the work and he's getting closer. And then he gets distracted, compares himself to others. He sees what someone else is doing. Doesn't know how hard they've been digging. He doesn't know how long they've been digging. He just sees them pulling up the diamond and getting the results. So he stops what he's doing. He abandons his plan and he goes to work on another project. And we do this all the time. And then we do it again and again and again. And then we wonder why we don't have any results. Why don't you just keep digging? Just stay focused. And I like to remind people, like we've done throughout this episode, that you can get, if you want to stay out of the fear and the hustle denial, you're going to need proof of your idea very fast. And proof only comes from profit, because that's all business is, it's in the business of making a profit. So you need to get some revenue fast. So like if your life was really, really dependent on it, and if your loved ones really depended on you generating revenue in the next 30 days, like the end of this month, what would you do? What would you really do if your and your family's well-being depended on this money? That's what you focus on. That's what you go out and do. Otherwise, our dreams just stay dreams and nothing more. And then they shrivel up and die. And this is speaking from experience. Been doing this 8 years and I struggled for a long time. And I was fortunate enough to have the comfort and cushy lifestyle of my parents' house, where it didn't matter, where my life didn't depend on me. But I had other businesses. I mean, I've been starting businesses for as long as I can remember. One that I don't tell people is I started a shoe company. Have we mentioned that on the podcast?
No, not yet. I know about it.
Goodness. I started a shoe company. I was just spending any money I could to get prototypes and designers. I didn't know what I was doing. But I had, I could still be doing it. I could still be getting shoe designs today and not have another dollar. And we stayed, it's almost ready. I'm almost working on it. But you can generate revenue now. Oh, no, I'll never do client work. Well, maybe say I'll never be broke, or I'll never have a business that doesn't generate revenue. That's the standard we should start with. Then we can talk about whether or not you should still do client work. But you can generate revenue right now by offering your services, being able to do something for somebody. Because at the very least, you can offer them time. A busy business owner needs help, and you can help them. So I hope this helped. I don't know. Did it give a clear answer to what I would do? Because I know we still want to answer what I would do differently. Oh, do you want to talk about that? Really? Let me ask you, did that make sense?
It did. I was excited to hear you answer that question. I think my personal question is just, I wish I had, gotten the mindset straight, or much more straight when I first started.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago when I was 19 and I started Mary Kay, I would bowl people over with my enthusiasm and my passion for makeup. I was just so excited.
Awesome. That's awesome, though.
Yeah. People were like, I don't know what you're selling, but yes, because I really, truly believe that everyone should have this.
Yeah.
And so I would just give people free facials all the time. And then they would be like, I'm like, you just have to. And they're like, you don't even have to tell me about the product. You're just so excited. And so that was the first, I didn't know anything about these opt-in offers or, free content or anything like that. That was just what I did. And it's funny now when I look back, I'm like, wow, that was good. I would put little fish bowls in nail salons and offer people, and everyone would be a winner, or I'd choose 10 people. And, that was the start of mine. And I wish that when I started this one a couple years ago, that, this business, that I had just had that confidence to just go for everything. I would get so stuck all the time. And it was like putting out fires every other day. So that's what I would do differently. But
yeah, I think
that's what I would have done. And then now we can talk about what you would do differently. But
I think the mindset is an important piece to bring in. I think the quicker we can just all accept that we all have fear, and really smart people don't call it fear. They mask it as something else. They mask it as logic. No, this is why this won't work. I hear it all the time. Anytime someone wants to give me their explanations and reasons for why something isn't working, it's fear masked as logic. And I used to be the same way. I still am at times, and then I just have to hear myself talk, like, no, this launch failed because it's summer and there's just people that just aren't around in the summer. It's too busy and they're all on vacation. I have someone in my mastermind who just did $1 million in sales in the first 12 hours of their launch. It's the middle of summer. Really? You want to tell me that? I mean, it's just ridiculous. But it sounds great. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Everyone's on vacation. Well, the argument could be made that because they're on vacation, there's less distractions. And maybe they're in a more positive state where they're really like, gosh, how do we travel more? And I'm really happy right now. Oh, look at this. What's this email? I just don't. Anyway, so I think that's the mindset piece is if we can just embrace the fact that every new thing that we do is going to come with that feeling of uncertainty. That's, usually why we're afraid. There's the fears that come up of what if could happen? What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What will people think of me? What if I get rejected? What if I lose it all? What if it doesn't work? What if it does work, right? And I think life is about working through that stuff. That's where life becomes life to me, is working through that and feeling it. If we were fearless our whole life and we literally didn't have the fear gene, life would be really boring, Yeah. So it's what makes life exciting is we have a fear, and when we break through it and we do something despite that fear, that's when we feel fully alive. Because you get to see who you really are and what you're made of, what you're capable of. And that's exciting. So that's the mindset piece. What I would have done differently if I could go back in time. If I could turn back time. All right. If I could turn back time. Who was that, by the way?
Cher?
Oh, Cher.
Is it?
Yeah. I got to do an impression on every episode. Now we're into singing impressions.
Oh, boy.
If I could turn back time. All right. There's 1 or 2 things I would do differently. Number 1, I would raise my prices. For a long time in my business, I was just selling $50 and $100 products. I would raise those things faster because the more I raise my prices, the more I get to work with more extraordinary people where we get to solve bigger problems. I love it. I had one of our inner circle members called me the other day in a breakdown, and I love it. I mean, it's just I'm this is all I want to do for the rest of my life. It's Rocky's, what is his name? His coach, right? So Rocky just, we're boxing. He just got his butt kicked in the round and he comes back and I get to be that person, not just as a motivator, hey, you got this, you're Rocky, but also from a strategic, all right, so nothing's screwed here. We got this. Let's try this. And I'm that's so fun for me. I just love that because people are in the arena, they're playing the game, they're doing it. And then you get to be try this, add this, do this, and change that. And then they're boom, oh my gosh, that worked. That was amazing. And so these are people, as I've raised my prices, I've attracted people that are doing that. People that have done 3 or 4 launches in 6 months versus someone who's 2 or 3 years later, they're I still haven't, finished my first course. I mean, it's fine. No judgments. It's just that's who I get lit up about working with is people that, are up to a bigger game and moving fast. That's what I would have done differently. The other thing is I would have been up to a bigger game sooner. I think I really did let my fear get in the way. Lack of self-confidence, self-doubt, not believing in myself really held me back for a long time because I have really high standards for myself. And the only thing that really finally stopped it when I saw people around me that were way not at my level, hadn't had the experience I had, the knowledge and wisdom that I had, and the sweat equity and all that stuff, thriving, doing bigger things. I'm not talking about making more money, but doing things that I should have been doing. And then you just realize, and this is something we've said before, but no one's coming to save you. And I think everyone has these realizations in one way or another. It was no one's coming to save you. And so everything, and that could be a really dark and morbid thought for some people, but it's actually really grounding and can get you to be really present, to realize wait a second, life is just all about conscious or unconscious choices that we make in every moment. And I'm choosing to sit on the sidelines of life. I'm choosing to just, play in the background versus being the star quarterback. Let's do this. What are you waiting for? What's the worst that can happen? And that's what I would have done differently is I would have woken up a lot sooner and just gone for it, gone for the Hail Mary years ago.
That's interesting. I thought you were going to say something about hiring. Would that be any, hiring more people sooner or anything like that?
I mean,
or outsourcing?
I don't really, because I don't know. I mean, that's tough. I mean, I love the journey I've gone on hiring.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned so much. And then when Chelsea came in, we have a nickname behind Chelsea's back. We don't say around Chelsea. We won't
tell anybody.
we won't tell anybody. We call her the optimizer because she is, she's like this. I mean, the reason I married this woman is because she's like the sweetest, most loving, kindest soul on the planet. And like, for some reason, is so impressed by everything I do and just thinks everything. Oh, wow. That's just so, and then you're just so sweet and loving. And then you get her into the office and she is ruthless. Like we play good cop, bad cop. And she like re-optimized the entire team. Like, if it wasn't working out, she's the first one to let you know it's either ship up or shape out. Wait, what is it? Shape up or ship out. There it is. And I mean, she comes in the room and everyone just like stops laughing and stands up straight. Now, she's not, I mean, I don't want to paint too bad of a light of her. She has such a higher standard for what is acceptable and what should be tolerated. And we got really clear on this. And this is why we're rereading E-Myth Revisited, because it's just such a great book, is that at the end of the day, I can be a leader, but there's a difference between being a leader and a manager, because the leader is about communicating the vision and forging the path for the team. But who's making sure everyone's doing their job is a manager. And she's the manager. She can command the troops and organize them. Her and our project manager can do that. And I just have to keep sitting there like a, dancing sea monkey and being like, just put me in front of the camera or on the microphone and that's it. I can't manage anybody. I can't even manage myself. There's so many unfinished to-dos. As many as there are all the things that I do get done, there's a lot that don't, And where was I going with this? Gosh.
I think you were talking about how much you love Chelsea. I
was. Oh, I'm sorry. You asked. Today is a long and rambling one. I hope you guys are okay with that. We'll wrap it up. Yeah, I know you were asking about would I do anything differently with teams. I'm like, yeah, I would have married Chelsea sooner and I would have brought her on board sooner so she could handle that, because I've made a lot of mistakes, but they were all such great learning mistakes. Yeah. Like, the only regrets are just like, learning your lessons sooner and getting more confidence sooner and believing in yourself sooner. And by the time you do believe in yourself, and by the time you do say, oh, I'm ready to do this, like, it's not that it's too late. It's just that you could have done it a lot sooner. Trust me. So this is a great question. We turned it into a really long answer. I know. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave some perspective, because this is someone who's been doing this, it's 8+ years now. And I obsess about the mindset and what works, what doesn't, why people fail, why people succeed. And it's a great question for me to talk about. So thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, our other listeners, for tuning into this one.
If you haven't left us a review on iTunes, go ahead and you can do that now at jameswedmore.com/iTunes. We love looking at all your feedback and really appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care. Are you frustrated that no matter how hard you hustle, no matter how much you get done in a day, you still feel like you have little results to show for it? Do you feel like you're doing everything right, but there's still something missing? Well, what if there was an easier way? What if your business could be fun, effortless, and profitable? Phoebe and I have put together a free audio MP3 for you, compiling the 77 business affirmations for creating success from the inside out. And we want to give it to you absolutely free. This is your chance to rewire your brain for bigger results in your life and your business. To get instant access absolutely free, simply visit 77affirmations.com. That's the number 77affirmations.com.